Hi, I'm Gwen Preston of Resource Maven. We're here at the Metals Investor Forum in January in Vancouver, and I'm joined by Chris Taylor of Great Bear Resources. Great Bear is a pretty new addition actually to the Maven portfolio, but kind of a new story on the market in general.
Yep.
Not new to you, you've been slugging it away for a little while, but new in terms of getting out there. So let's set the stage. What did you slug away? What was this project or this project portfolio that you put together in Red Lake, Ontario?
Well, thanks, Gwen, for welcoming me so nicely. So Great Bear, it took us about 2 or 3 years to get all the under-the-hood work done on our projects in the Red Lake district of Ontario so that we knew that we'd have 100% interest in these properties and not have any royalties on them either. So when we brought over Great Bear to become a member of the Discovery Group, if you're aware of that, that's it's a group of companies which all circles around John Robbins of Kaminak and other fame. We ended up doing a restructuring of the vehicle. We financed, we brought in new investors, and we brought in these projects in Red Lake at the same time.
Right. So the projects, let's focus on Dixie Lake. It's clearly the important one here. Dixie Lake has some history of exploration, has a known gold zone, and you guys have done one drill program there so far. So just summarize for me what you know about what's there, and then we can get into what we think might be in addition.
No problem. What we know is there is high-grade gold. There's a high-grade gold system that goes right to surface, and much like the rest of Red Lake, it seems to just keep going all the way down. So that seems like a bit of a ridiculous statement, but it's drilled down to about 500 meters so far. And if anything, when you look at the data for the project, it's already high-grade at surface. We have intercepts that are up to about 130 to 160 grams within 100 meters of the surface, but the grade on average gets better and thicker as it goes down too. So if you know about the Red Lake story,
it's a classic Red Lake situation for it to get thicker and higher grade at depth.
Very much so. So again, that project is located just about 20 kilometers south of Red Lake, and it's a large property package for that district. It's actually quite large. So it's about 7,500 hectares. So it's almost 20 to 23 kilometers long. It controls a big gold bearing structure, and there's about 160 drill holes on the property, which were drilled by Teck. Teck did the discovery work back in the late 1980s. It's a great sort of predecessor to have on the project. And Mark O'Day was involved with Frontier Gold. So Mark, when he went into Red Lake, this was his get into Red Lake project with. And I bet you they would have kept doing work on it, except they ended up getting into Long Canyon down in Nevada, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So most of that work has focused on the zone, like the main Dixie Lake zone that you're working on right now.
Yeah.
The next drill program, so you've done a drill program there.
Mm-hmm.
The zone, to me, stands out for its consistency of mineralization. Red Lake can be very patchy when it comes to gold, but here you seem to get really consistent hits in this zone.
Yep.
And then in the upcoming program, you're going to, like you say, go deeper, see if it does get better. But then you're also going to look at where it might hinge here.
Yes.
Hinges are great.
Yep.
Where it might double over
Yes.
here, and where it might continue way down there. So why don't you...
I think, Gwen, I don't really need to say a lot else. You actually have
some
fully...
geology description to that.
Okay, excellent. So as I mentioned, there's about a 20 kilometer long structure on this. We did a really high resolution mag survey on it back last year, and it's why we increased the size of the property at the time, because it's really dead obvious. Where you see the gold drilling that's been done before, there's 160 holes sort of clustered in a 2 kilometer by half a kilometer area, right? But you see there's mag destruction on this big linear trend, and you see it where the gold is, you see it in another zone that we know we have gold, and then we see it again, and we see it again, and we see it again along the strike of that big structure. So when we go back in here, what we want to show is the size of the system. We came out with really good gold results during the phase 1 program, so our highlight interval from that was about 10 meters of 16 grams. So over 160 gram meters in phase 1, very nice to see. But when we go back in now, in about 2 weeks, we'll be drilling again. Did I say that before? Because that's the point I wanted to emphasize. We're going to be testing strike continuity up to over 2 kilometers, and we're going to be hitting more of those high grade zones as they go down. And it was very exciting when we organized the project data, because out of this main area that's been drilled, if there's 160 holes in total, there's 73 within this 500 meter strike of one part of the structure. 70 out of 73 holes hit over 3 grams per ton gold, and more than half of them hit over 5 grams per ton gold. So the consistency for Red Lake is extremely high. Usually Red Lake, as you mentioned, you hit it, then you miss it. Here you just hit it and hit it and hit it. So you're able to delineate these higher grade zones within that system.
Right, so all of the targets that you're looking at all have the scale to add, or have the potential to add quite significantly to the scale of what you're exploring here.
That's right.
Which is really exciting. The continuity, the consistency of gold certainly stands out. And then you mentioned earlier when you were telling us the backstory, you restructured this vehicle when you were coming out the gate, so Great Bear is also a very tight company.
Yes, that's right. It's a really good point. So there's only 18 million shares issued on the company right now, and I think it's really important for investors to know. It's something I look at when I'm looking at investing in another company.
One of the first things I look at.
Yeah, it's not just the structure though, it's who owns the structure. And is management sitting in there with shares that they got at 1 or 2 cents and then they're going to be out at 50 cents or whatever. All of the management and the shareholders in Great Bear, when we did roll it back, it was rolled back aggressively. We put all of our money back in at every financing level and into the market. So we're in exactly the same position as all the investors that get involved with the story from today on, the same incentives.
Right. So it's a pretty new story, it's a tight share structure, it's a really interesting gold asset, it's in an easy to access, inexpensive place to explore.
Yeah.
And you're about to start drilling. Did you mention that?
No, I might have mentioned some of it, but Gwen, this is really, I've operated projects all over the world for exploration. We did our first drill program for under $175 a meter, all in drill costs.
That's incredibly cheap.
It is.
For all in drill costs, that's like, I don't know if I've heard that number before.
That's what happens when you're on a road in Ontario and you can base your project out of a motel.
Right.
Not a fancy one. A very basic motel in Red Lake. So thanks, Gwen.
Perfect. All right. Thanks for watching. All right.